listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest with local expert Nick Neal. Now, here's Nick.
Thanks for staying with us on Money Radio, KKOL AM 1300, and you are listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest. I'm your host, Nick Neal, and I've got my right-hand woman, Dudley, here with me. Just come by Dudley.
That'll be me.
Yeah, from Belfair in the UK. And we're talking with our guest, Justin Mitchell of Team Troy and Keller Williams, and we're going to talk more about Team Troy, too, because we want to bring up, what they do. And we'll get into that now, too, because we want to talk about REOs and HUDs. And as a beginning, kind of, Justin, tell us what an REO is. People hear that term thrown around, and I literally had somebody in our business throw out REO, and I said, what does that stand for? And she didn't know. She'd been in the business for 20 years, and she couldn't think, what the acronym was for. What's REO stand for?
So, REO stands for Real Estate Owned, which to the average Joe probably means nothing still.
Okay.
But so basically,
it's a bank-owned property, right? Or
it's a foreclosure property that did not successfully sell at auction.
Okay.
So the typical kind of the processes it goes through. So somebody forecloses on their mortgage, and then the lender, the bank, which typically services the loan, and then there's a backing organization, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, those various organizations we've all.
Chase.
Well, B of A is typically like the servicer, so they're the ones that you pay your mortgage to, but they've got an insurance company backing that loan, which is where your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
Because maybe then some of the REOs that we see from lenders are more of the small, middle of the road lenders, where they have the unique portfolio properties that they're.
Yeah, and so if it's a portfolio property, it's on the lender, but how it typically happens is so the bank, you foreclose on your loan, the bank tries to sell it because they want to recoup the losses from this property. So it's an asset, they need to get rid of it. They want to try to get as much money back. So they'll typically put it up for auction. But as the market's shifted and gone, it's changed quite a bit now, but a lot of properties weren't selling at auction. Yeah. So if they don't sell at auction to a private person, a party, it then goes back on to either the servicer, the portfolio lender, or the backing.
Or Freddie, or?
So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, which and then they have this property that they need to sell.
Yeah.
So that's how you see a lot of foreclosure properties on the market is properties that need to get taken care of.
And then you, as an REO specialist in Team Troy, then you guys develop relationships with them, don't you, to help market these properties? Or how do you end up?
So different agents sell.
Well, you're buyers agents too, but yeah, give us information.
Well, yeah, and I've got experience on the actual listing side as well. But so various agents can have different accounts with REO companies to sell properties. We've got a couple of different accounts. HUD is one of our bigger accounts.
So being a HUD-approved agent?
Yeah, so I'm a HUD. Our whole office is a HUD-approved office. We're one of the HUD specialty offices here in the Seattle area. So we sell some properties that are HUD, but also we have a ton of experience representing clients who want to purchase properties from the various where you
guys specialize.
Foreclosed companies.
Yeah.
So when it comes to foreclosure properties, you just want to make sure that your agent knows how to navigate those transactions. It seems like every single, whether it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, they all have their own specific roadmap of how they want that transaction to go. And if your agent isn't familiar with it, it can really derail the whole transaction and could be detrimental to you getting the property.
Oh my. Well, and this is where we hear the 3, 6, 9, 12 months that people can go through with an offer, waiting to get through all these committees and things. And I'm dealing on the front side with agents. A lot of times I get agents that they're, they really don't know what's going on the bank side.
And those long wait times are typically with the short sale properties specifically.
Yeah, okay.
As far as turnaround time with the foreclosure properties, those happen pretty quickly, similar to a traditional sale. Because if you think about it, that property in their portfolio is costing them money. They want to get rid of it. Yeah. Whereas a short sale, you're going through that third-party person that has to be involved in the transaction, and that's where it's the same concept where every bank's different, but it's with the short sale, it seems like they take forever because they have to go through so many hoops to make it happen.
That's a good point. So distinguish between short sales, which are still owned by the seller, and they probably are still living in the house.
Correct.
Or there's a good chance that they would be. And then you have to negotiate with the short sale owner, negotiating with the bank to get them to accept the price that the short sale person is trying to sell for to get the loan paid off. And it's just, another variable in there that you don't need. So
exactly.
So you've got your short sales, and then you guys are more specializing on the REO side.
We do short sales as well. Yeah. So I mean, because I know that those can be really confusing. So,
but that would be something you'd want to look at. Am I dealing with a short sale or an REO?
Right. So when you're setting the expectation with the client, you have to tell them, okay, well, if you want to purchase this short sale, I'm absolutely 100% on board, but it's my job to kind of set the expectation of how this could potentially go so that you know exactly what you're signing up for. Because there's nothing worse than getting 4 months into a transaction and having a client blow up your phone and scream at you because the house hasn't closed yet.
Yeah. Well, and we just had one where the seller did a modification. We're 2 weeks away from having the offer accepted after waiting about four months, and they worked out a modification, and sorry, the house isn't for sale anymore.
Exactly.
Oh, my gosh.
And as the market is changing, you might actually start seeing that more often because every time a property sells in the neighborhood, that the value goes up.
Yeah.
There's a higher probability of the modification happening because the house will appraise higher.
Oh, wow.
And if the bank comes to do the appraisal for the modification, there's a higher probability of it appraising higher because recent sales in the neighborhood
and more incentive
are reflecting a higher value.
Yeah, on the seller to want to stay in that home then if their home's appreciating and they're seeing they've got the value there.
Exactly.
So that's really the tough side. So give us the nuts and bolts on the REO because we haven't really talked about that much. We've talked a lot about short sales on the show, but what's the process? So do you market these REO properties then, or you find them?
Yeah, so the REO properties come to us typically through an account that has been, you've established a relationship and gotten an account similar to you're basically a contractor that selling this property on behalf of the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of a common misconception is that foreclosure properties take a long time, similar to short sales.
Well, yeah,
but
they
actually
kind of get lumped together.
They don't.
In people's minds. I mean, when people buyers kind of lump them together.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think they're actually much closer to a traditional sale.
Nice.
Because you're only dealing with one person directly. You'll get an answer right away. The big difference is that whoever you're purchasing the property from is going to have kind of a finite process that you have to go through.
And if you know that ahead of time,
you got to know that ahead of time. Your agent needs to know it because you're going to have cross every T, dot every I. They're going to have specific forms that have to get included with the offer. It can get really convoluted and hard for the buyer to understand a lot of the times.
Sounds like doing a loan program, huh, Shelley? You guys are starting to sound like our world. Welcome to our world of documentation. Yeah.
Each one requires specific forms.
And yes. Oh my gosh.
But I know as I represent my clients, I make it a point to make sure to walk them through whatever property they choose to pick, to set the expectation and make sure that I'm communicating with them every step of the way, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're in the dark and don't know what's going on. So knowing the process and keeping our client in the loop, it should be just as easy as buying a house from
a private party. So the REO, really, you just would think then as the bank or the bank as the private party or the seller.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're just buying it from a company or an organization rather than a person.
Yeah. Do they typically have a price that they're because I know sometimes with short sales they're pre-approving prices now. Do they have a price they're pretty well set up that if you make that offer at the price they're asking or whatever, that you're going to be able to get closer? Is there a long committee wait like you see?
There isn't necessarily a long committee wait. The different companies that are selling foreclosure properties settle on that sticker price, as we were talking about earlier, in different ways, like that sticker price, that asking price. Sometimes it's because of an appraisal. HUD, for example, completes an FHA appraisal on every single one of their properties, and that's how they establish their asking price. But as we all know in our industry, appraisals are still subjective. So just because it's the sticker price doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
So that's where your agent comes in to really look at the market. I mean, I've had bids on foreclosure properties go through that I did not think that they were going to go through.
Wow.
But, so I'm constantly surprised.
So that's something you can still get a good deal on.
Yeah.
Because that's like what kind of people associate. Well, it's going to be a lot of work. I'm probably going to go for 9 months and not get the house, like a short sale. But the REO, if there's not that extra negotiation, that's maybe the place to find good deals today?
Well, you can find good deals, but obviously still the market still dictates the interest in a property, regardless of its condition. There are investors, people with that, private parties that want to buy it for their family, whoever it might be. But there is still, you can get a good deal if you find the right one. But I mean, we're seeing bidding wars and pre-inspections on short sales.
Oh, gosh.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. So it sounds like the market really is turning now.
It definitely is.
Yep. So you're in a mix. So you can find on REOs, but you better be aware you might have some competition.
Yeah, just like any property. There's competition, and it's all about... And every property is different. It's kind of like you have to look at it, like in each little... Like if there's a window, you got to look at that property on its own. And if you like it and want to put an offer on it, there's all the different... pieces we put together that
you got your eyeglass for this property.
You look at the interest, the price, the condition, the location, all those things, and that's what
you guys have a hard job.
You wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah, I thought all you did was go out and find houses and sign a piece of paper and say sign here, and then you get paid your money at the end. That's not the deal anymore.
No, not at all.
Yeah, well, that's neat, and that's so exciting to hear that you guys really focus on that and are. You probably even have relationships with a lot of the people that you deal with the REOs.
And when you do that, it makes the transaction a lot easier when you do that too.
When we were doing permit work, dealing with the building departments and stuff in a previous job, knowing those inspectors and different people that you had to deal with, boy, we could get things done a lot quicker than some of the people that didn't have those relationships or channels.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, we're getting into a break again. Boy, the show's going really fast today.
It is.
Yeah. Thanks for all your information. That's good stuff. So be sure you pay attention to the difference between REOs and short sales. And if your agent doesn't know, you might need to check around and find another agent.
Or call me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Call Justin. Exactly. And Team Troy. And we're going to talk more about Team Troy and get to the geek stuff.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, Real Estate Radio Northwest with Nick Neal on KKOL AM 1300. I've got Dudley here and Justin Mitchell. Come back and join us. We'll talk about Team Troy and promise the gadgets now.
Exactly.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
You've heard the news. The real estate bubble burst, and now foreclosures are the investment opportunity of the decade. Each week, over 1,200 properties are auctioned off in Western Washington, many going for 20, 30, even 40% below market value every week. Last week in King County, a house assessed at $347,000 sold for $192,000. That's a savings of $150,000. And that example is not one of a kind. You can take advantage of deals like this every week with Fair Play Foreclosures, the region's leading provider of wholesale real estate. Attend their next free workshop this Tuesday and learn the ins and outs of foreclosure investing, current economic trends, and where to find the money. Fair Play Foreclosures will also give you free access to their foreclosure database with thousands of distressed properties you can buy at deep discounts. Call now and reserve your seat. 1-866-22-RADIO. 1-866-22-RADIO. There may never be a better time for you to build your real estate portfolio. Call 1-866-22-RADIO today.